Well, welcome everybody. It's nice to have you here at our insider session where we're going to talk about the ability to use intelligent document processing, large language models, or when and if we use both. We'll check it out. So I'm accompanied by Jeff Comer, our manager of solution engineering here, and he's going to actually, at the end of this presentation, give us some cool demos of really useful use cases where you're going to actually see the combination of both of these. So don't fall asleep on us. I think you're going to appreciate some of the cool stuff Jeff has prepared for us. As we dive in, let me just share with you real quick that here at Naviant, we want to be your trusted partner. We want to be your advisor. We want to work with you on all things intelligent automation, whether it's document storage, whether it's document automation, whether it's implementing a large language model or IDP product. Maybe it's RPA, maybe it's a bunch of other useful technology that is just focused on automation. We want to be that trusted partner for you. So please reach out, let us know what we can do to help you in your intelligent automation journey. And we look forward to connecting with you and being that advisor and partner for you. As we dive into this topic, though, about understanding the different technologies, what is IDP? What is large language models? I won't read these slides to you, but I do kind of just want to highlight a few things. So large language models, when we think about it, we're talking more of things like ChatGPT, Gemini, Meta, Grok, kind of these new huge models that are built with what we call billions of parameters. So they're just humongous models that understand how to interpret text. And then on the other side, we have intelligent document processing, like something like Abby, where there's a very focused, maybe specifically designed for automating specific document tasks. So when we think about this, these are two really similar products, but actually their capabilities there are some fine lines that we should consider. So when we look at the focus on the large language model, these models are just huge. They're built with, like I mentioned already, billions of parameters typically. Now there are ways you can tune them and make them smaller and more appropriate for your business. But these are really good at language understanding. And you've probably heard some of the abilities of these where it's, maybe writing blogs or helping you with story writing or summarization of documents, and even some cool stuff that Jeff's going to show us later today about how we're utilizing these large language models. But these are really good for complex language tasks, and they can be fine-tuned, and they can be applied in very specific, even small language models. So things that are very specific, or what we call domain-specific models that may be relevant to just your industry. On the intelligent document processing side, then, our focus here is really kind of very, in the lane. We want to be very focused on document, maybe even specific document types. And the capabilities that are really strong for this suite of technology is document classification. So being able to look at a document or contextually read a document and determine what that document type is. Maybe it's extracting key metadata that we will then, pass to backend systems or a next downstream step of the process. Maybe it's just validating, having some business rules around the data that we extracted to make sure it's actually a legitimate business document for us. And then also just workflow. Where do humans come in? Where does integration with other systems come in as part of the automation journey? So like I mentioned, these documents or these technologies are both very capable for document automation, but they do have their strengths and their differences. In fact, Jeff and I prepared this little Venn diagram to kind of show you some of the key features of where they kind of stay in the lane and when we can start merging them together. So on the left, you'll see IDP. So that's the kind of intelligent document processing. We'll refer to Abby here commonly in our organization, where these are documents that are just high volume, structured, sometimes semi-structured documents like invoices, forms, claims, things that have some sort of strict standard around them typically. And the beauty of IDP technology is we have this human in the loop learning. So as documents come in and as a human has to look at fallout, the software will learn from the human touch on the document. So that's kind of the far left of the Venn. On the right side, you'll see the large language model. And this is where we just dive into those complex documents where we're generating insight really typically from unstructured text. I know Jeff's going to share with you a legal document, a contract document. So how do we interpret that? And how do we use technology to kind of automate kind of the interpretation, the interrogation of those documents. And then sometimes these large language models are just built with massive data sets, billions of parameters, multi-millions of parameters. So they're just huge. They understand the interpretation and the interrogation of text very well. So when we think about marrying these technologies, then that's where kind of the beauty of them coming together, where maybe we want to extract key metadata, maybe we want to look at the data from a textual perspective, and we want to actually interpret. We want to make some assumptions on a document. We want to look at a medical record and say, hey, what is the issue with this medical record? Not just pulling the patient information, which of course is critical to us, but maybe, what is the information on that document that actually deems us taking a next step with the patient in that example. Other things that we would combine these for, this relationship between the words, sentences, structure, maybe what is the intent of a document? So a document comes in, is it a negative connotation? Is it a positive? Is there maybe just a neutral? Maybe we're looking at a review or something like that, and we want to kind of grade how a person is, interpreting the kind of service that we provided to them. So these are the different ways and approaches that we combine the two technologies. In some real world use cases, you'll see things in the healthcare, the logistics, the commercial space. So in the healthcare space here at Naviant, we've actually done quite a bit of work with things like prior authorization, health claim forms, referrals, those sorts of things. In this case, IDP is typically good at extracting the patient information and classifying those documents. But we would use large language models here to maybe interpret the medical record. What was the outcome? What kind of medications are they using? Those sorts of things. That's where that large language model just comes into play. In the logistics space, then we deal with things like bill of ladings, commercial invoices, a bunch of fun shipping documents here. And here we maybe extract from an IDP perspective, we'd focus on kind of the basic information that, is this a bill of lading? What is the information off of it that we want to extract? But then we would use an LLM to kind of go above and beyond that. Like, what are the special instructions? Are there some anomalies that maybe we don't see on the document? Do we want to find the closest port for this shipping document? Those sorts of fun, different use cases where it's not necessarily just focused on the document. It's actually thinking outside of how we can use the data on it to make better business decisions. And then lastly, in the invoices world, this applies to all markets, of course. We all have invoices. And, maybe we hear, in this case, we want to extract invoice data from an IDP perspective, but we want to use the LLM then to look for discrepancies or trends, and maybe even suggest how we correct those sorts of anomalies that are coming up on the invoices. So some real world use cases that, frankly, here at Naviant, we have a ton of comfort in and would love to dive into these use cases with you. I'll mention one more thing, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jeff for the fun part of the presentation. But some implementation best practices here and some practical considerations. So you should be aware of the cost in the IDP world. So the document automation world, we're typically focused on the per page cost. In the LLM world, we have this kind of assumption of called tokens or even prompts. So the way that we ask the large language model, what it returns, kind of essentially we pay for those, essentially what we call tokens. So just something to be aware of and understanding the implication of that, and depending on your volume, maybe there's really no consequence, or maybe there would be one. So you want to be aware of the cost. When it comes to privacy and security, just be aware here that there are some concerns, specifically in the public large language model space. Now, there are different ways, and a lot of these organizations are making large promises to us from a security perspective. But once again, if you're using a public language model, of course, you're offering your information to them at no cost to them, maybe potentially at cost to you. So just be aware of that and make sure you're reading and researching the right ways to make that secure for you. When we think about change management here, just be aware that in the large language model, specifically with the public models, those models can change at any time. When you do an IDP project, those are very kind of static. They, the software does learn, it uses machine learning, but kind of the human in the loop, the business validation does give us the ability to constrain what we see from a change management perspective. And then on the bottom left, where I will mention this, because these are actually very, very true limitations of large language models. It doesn't matter if it's public or private, on-prem or in the cloud. It's very hard to get geometry off of a document. So if a large language model interprets a document, it's hard for us to see where from the document and interpreted it. There's a lack of confidence levels. And this is actually something very important in the IDP space where, hey, I want to know how well the software thinks it classified a document, or how well did it read a given field. And we call those confidence levels. And that's actually a pretty big problem here in the large language models. We don't really have this idea of confidence. And then lastly, hallucinations. So just these models, they want to give a response. That's kind of what they're built to do. So there is a large concern. I've seen it myself as I've done development and testing, is these models do like to respond. And sometimes because of that, they will hallucinate. And so those are some very, very true.
Sorry, Travis.
Wrong, Jeff.
They can be wrong with confidence, right?
But you don't know what the confidence is. So they're just wrong. So that's a valid point. And then lastly, the considerations that we want you to just be aware of is there are a lot of tooling out there. So just, understand that there's going to be some research. We want you to research, and actually at Naviant, we can provide some of this guidance for you. There is quite a bit of preparation and training. There's this whole idea of prompt engineering when you're dealing with large language models. So just want to be sensitive that it's not a plug and play technology. In fact, frankly, neither of these technologies are always just plug and play. We try to make it easy. There are ways that we can allow from a citizen user or developer approach to make life easier on you, but there is some preparation. Obviously, how do we integrate with, back-end systems? That's to and from both of these technologies is something that we want to be prepared for. And then just how do we continuously monitor, address items? How do we improve models? How do we know if a model is reacting good for us or not? And my picture down here is actually of the Google model garden. So this is an example of Google's scenario where they just have a ton of pre-built models, maybe specifically in different use cases, kind of like what I shared on the last slide. But, just models that are specifically tuned and kind of already built in a smaller way. So they're not this huge billion parameter large language model, but smaller models that may be more adaptable for your specific use case. So a lot of opportunity out there, also a lot of changing technology. So I'm excited though, because in order to really bring this to reality of how do we combine intelligent document processing with large language models, my friend Jeff is going to show you and give us all his wisdom, his extreme wisdom, and showing us different ways that we can plug in this text. So Jeff, enough talking for me. Show these folks what you got prepared for us.
Awesome, Travis. Good information. A lot of good stuff there, and a lot of foreshadowing into what we're going to demonstrate here too. So it's going to fit together nicely. If you haven't joined one of our previous webinars specifically and solely on intelligent document processing, let me introduce you to one of our favorites, which is the Abby Vantage tool. Abby has been in the marketplace for 1 billion years. They are a leader in using advanced techniques to extract data from content using the latest in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And they've done it all with this new presentation layer called Vantage, which makes it super easy to apply these technologies. That's always been something that's been hard to do. Initial upfront costs of getting information off of documents has been high. And now you see we've got hundreds and hundreds of pre-made skills for all of the most common document types. So we can really get up to running with a tool like Abby. We can get up and be extracting data, classifying, identifying what kind of a document we're looking at, and extracting the key relevant data out of that document, whether it's structured, semi-structured, or even unstructured. Right? So this is a really, really great tool. We love it, and it's so fun and easy to use. And in fact, what I like to do is, I can create my own skills, and I created a whole bunch of skills here to play with the concept that we're talking about here. How do we bridge together or merge together these intelligent document processing capabilities with the strengths of the large language models? And so I'm going to show you a few examples of this right now. I've got 3 for you, 3 different use cases, and I'm just going to jump into the first one here. And this is a CMS 1500. So this is in that sort of medical vertical that Travis was talking about here. And we have pre-made skills that can pull all of this very structured information out of this form very accurately, right? You can see that we can just derive tons and tons of different facets of information from this document using our IDP arm. but a lot of this is really hard to interpret. There are codes that, that we don't understand necessarily what they mean. And maybe we want to be able to do some research or some analysis across a bunch of different forms to find out, where we see maybe patterns of sicknesses happening. So what we can do is we can take and feed these codes to our large language model and supplement the information that's on the form with the information from the language model. So here you can see that there's, we've translated this S41152A code into something that a human could understand. I wouldn't necessarily want this to be code applied to me, but you can see the value of enriching this content with being able to look into a language model. So good example there. Next one, Travis mentioned, is sort of in the legal space, right? So while the IDP tools can do a good job of natural language processing, so they can pull out information like entities and places and dates and terms, and we can really do a pretty good job of extracting some structure from pretty unwieldy documents. What we can do with our large language model and a complement is do things like summarization, right? Take a look at this big giant document and boil it down 50 words or less. What is this thing all about? Another popular use case that we're seeing is to interpret documents for risk. So we can ask the large language model to review a contract for us and identify areas where we may be at risk, where maybe exposure for our organization, where we may need to negotiate better terms with the other party. So really helpful, again, power of better together. And then finally, my last example, it's kind of the coolest example, I think, is as Travis also mentioned, this is sentiment analysis, right? So, I can use my language or my IDP tool to extract very specific information, like interpreting the check boxes. And this gives me, very highly accurate, no hallucinations, high confidence, being able to search and sort and categorize and report on different dynamics of something like a survey form. But I can add the language model in and I can actually get back the sentiment of this. So I can interpret the comments and say, hey, this appears to be a negative sentiment as it relates to the service that was here. And then I've got a few more examples here. You can see my staff was so nice. So we get a positive sentiment. And even neutral. So, we just asked the language model, say, hey, give me, rate these as one of three, positive, negative, or neutral, right? So, and it just magically just is able to interpret the language and give us back results. So now we've got these things sorted into different buckets, and we can, focus our energies on the negative feedback and look for ways that we can improve our business or reach out to customers and make sure that we, correct situations that may prevent them from working with us in the future, right? So some real practical, easy to create value out of these tools. Isn't that fun? And this just took just literally minutes to put these together too. It's just mind-boggling how awesome this technology is, and really the value of being able to take something that's very structured and very specific and very reliable, and then just extend it with all of the power of these great new AI tools. So a lot of fun. Travis.
Jeff, I thought that was a great review. I would say, though, based on the reviews of your restaurant, your restaurant game isn't so strong. So I'll trust you on the technology side. That's probably where I'll stop with you.
Stay in my lane.
You definitely probably stay in that lane. But it's sure been good to be with you all on this insider session where we've kind of decoded, and you've actually seen real life examples of where does an intelligent document processing, in this case ADDIE, merge with large language models, and how do we use both, and when do we use both, and what's the right time to use them. So we appreciate very much with you being with us today. And I do want to go back to and revisit something I mentioned earlier. We want to be your trusted partner here at Naviant. So please, if you're interested in continuing your intelligent automation journey with us, please visit Naviant.com, go to the Contact Us page. We would love to be in contact with you, just kind of riding that journey, making, partner recommendations, kind of sharing with you some customer stories of where we're seeing success, our customers are seeing success in the market, and we look forward to working with you. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Have a great day.